Imagine walking into your new rental house, tired from a long trip, only to find the bathtub coated in black grime, the air thick with the smell of rot, and a half-decayed sandwich waiting under the coffee table like a trap from hell. My friend and his roommates were furious, but instead of cleaning up the mess, they decided to play the long game. If you've ever had to live with disgusting roommates or deal with people who don't respect shared spaces, hit that like button, because this story, it's for everyone who's ever wanted to give inconsiderate people a taste of their own filth. The House of Disrespect. Let me take you back a few years to when my friend, we'll call him Evan, was in university. He was in an engineering program that required co-op terms, meaning every few months, students would rotate between working full-time in another city and returning to campus for classes. Now, this system created a weird kind of roommate ecosystem. There were two alternating groups of students, Group A and Group B, who would swap in and out of the same rental house every few months, depending on whose work term it was. And for a while, this arrangement worked fine. The house was nothing special, a creaky old two-story unit tucked behind a noisy main road. The paint was peeling, the floors groaned with every step, and the landlord hadn't done a single update since the early 90s. But hey, rent was cheap, and in a high-cost city, cheap rent was gold. But then came them, the other group, the ones who, as Evan would put it, treated the place like a landfill with plumbing into a pigsty. It was the start of another work term. Evan and his three buddies, all engineering students who just wanted a decent place to crash between 12-hour workdays, pulled up to the house after a long drive. The moment they opened the door, they stopped dead in their tracks. A wall of stench hit them so hard, it was like being punched in the nose with garbage. The air was humid, thick, and heavy with something sour. It was the kind of smell that made your stomach clench before your brain even processed what it was. They flicked on the light. And it was bad. Real bad. Pizza boxes stacked like architectural experiments. Mold climbing the walls in the kitchen. The sink filled with some kind of grayish liquid that looked like it had been there since winter. But the worst part. Bathroom. Evan later told me he thought someone had painted the tub black. Nope. That was grime. Layers of it. Built up so thick you couldn't see the enamel underneath. He said it smelled like if despair had a scent. And as they made their way through the disaster zone, trying to salvage the situation, they found it. Under the coffee table, half covered in dust and crumbs, was a sandwich. Or what was left of one. The bread was green. The meat had liquefied into something that looked like tar. And the smell. Well, let's just say that sandwich was less food and more biological experiment. 3. The boiling point. Months of disgust. For the first few days, Evan and his friends argued about what to do. Should they clean it? Should they call the landlord? Should they message the other group and demand they come back and clean? But the landlord, of course, was a ghost. A classic slumlord, impossible to reach, impossible to reason with. And the other group, they didn't care. When Evan's roommate texted them, they replied with a laughing emoji and said, "Oh, our bad. Should have thrown that out." That was the moment something inside Evan snapped. They were tired. Tired of being the nice guys who cleaned up everyone else's mess. Tired of paying full rent for a house that looked like it was condemned. Tired of letting disrespect slide. That sandwich, that disgusting rotting sandwich, became a symbol of every time someone had disrespected them. Every time they'd been taken advantage of. And they made a decision. They weren't cleaning it up. Not this time. 4. The plan. The rotten reminder. Evan and his roommates came up with an idea. Simple. Ready. Perfect. They were going to leave the sandwich right where it was. For the next group. The same group that had left it there in the first place. Only now, that sandwich wasn't a forgotten mistake. It was a message. A silent declaration. You made this mess. You live with it. So they cleaned everything else, the kitchen, the bathroom, even the disgusting tub. They worked hard to make the place livable again. But that sandwich, untouched, preserved under that table like a cursed relic. And every time they had friends over, they'd point to it. That, Evan would say, is justice in progress. They even joked about naming it. Someone called it Larry the Sandwich. Every week they'd check on Larry. He changed colors, textures, ecosystems. By the end of their 3-month stay, Larry was unrecognizable, a compressed, fossilized husk of mold and vengeance. They could have thrown it out. But no, that was the point. They wanted the other group to find it, to smell it, to remember it. 5. The return, sweet, stinking revenge. 3 months later, it was time for Evan's group to head back to school. They packed up, scrubbed the house spotless, except for one detail. Under the coffee table, they left Larry, the now mummified sandwich of justice, exactly where they found him. And then, a few weeks later, the texts started coming in. The other group had moved back in. The first message came in the group chat. "Dude, you left a sandwich here. It's rock hard. What the hell? That's disgusting." Evan just replied with a single message. "We thought you might want it back." The group chat went silent for hours. Then finally one of the guys, the same one who'd laughed months earlier, responded. "Wait, that's the same sandwich. Evan. The very same. They lost it. They called them psychos, said it was gross. But deep down they knew. They knew exactly why it happened. Because they had started it. Because they disrespected that house. And by extension, everyone who lived there. And while Evan and his friends didn't get money, fame, or revenge in some cinematic explosion, what they did get was better. Vindication. They left behind a reminder. A lasting consequence. A message carved in mold. The reflection. Justice in its pettiest form. Sometimes revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it doesn't have to destroy someone's life or make headlines. Sometimes it's just about balance. Evan told me later. That sandwich wasn't revenge. It was karma in slow motion. And honestly, he was right. The next term when his group returned, the house was immaculate. The other students had clearly spent hours scrubbing, bleaching, and deodorizing every inch. There was even a note taped to the fridge. "Let's keep it clean this time. No more sandwiches." Evan laughed when he saw it. The message had been received. Loud and clear. In the end, there were no fights. No shouting. No dramatic confrontations. Just a quiet, poetic form of justice. The kind that lingers, like the faint smell of a rotten sandwich under a coffee table, reminding everyone involved, you get back what you give. Evan and his friends didn't have to say a word. Their silence, and that one disgusting, unforgettable sandwich, did all the talking. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes life gives you chances to get even, and sometimes it gives you sandwiches. Either way, when people treat you like garbage, it's okay to remind them that respect is a two-way street. Even if it takes a little mold to make the message stick.